All right. Round 2, 3 maybe. Bring the smoke.
Bring the smoke.
6. #blessed.
#blessed.
Fuck Porsche Cayennes.
What it do, baby?
What up?
It's your boy J-Dub.
Trey Moore on the mic.
And we got the infamous, the famous, the sexy
I don't know about any of that, but I'm Zach.
Bambino.
Fire
That's a
marshal
throwback,
is
right?
on the fire extinguisher today.
Yeah, Bambino in the house. All right, man. So
what's going on with y'all today?
Oh man, feeling great, feeling good. Belly is full.
#blessed.
Yeah, #blessed. Salmon in my belly. Some sweet potatoes.
Very, very good food that we just ate. So
some asparagus that somebody had a little challenge eating. You know, asparagus is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
One of the trickiest vegetables.
It's not tricky. There's just multiple ways to eat it.
One way or the other, I got it done.
What did I say? Eels in an aquarium.
Wrangling eels.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we here, man. In episode number 6.
Saga continues, man.
Yeah. I hope you all had a safe, happy Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you have Veterans Day. So shout out to all the veterans out there. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. And we got Thanksgiving coming up soon. And
shout out to Jay, just turned like 1 million.
Oh yeah, happy belated birthday, son.
I am finally level 35, guys.
Nice.
Took me 365 days grinding, but I got level 35.
Any words of wisdom you care to bless us with, given that this is your 35th time around the?
Oh yeah, man. One of my favorite quotes that we like to give my boy Roy. He knows it very well. Don't stick your dick in crazy. All right. All right. Don't do it.
Words to live by.
Yes,
I mean, it might be fun, but don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of upcoming things, we got...
well, yeah, part of, I guess your birthday weekend, whatever you want to call it. We got a show tomorrow.
Yes. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited. The last time this person came, I missed it. And then I saw the... video from the show, and it was quite a good show. So I'm glad we have an opportunity to go see him again. But Jadena, 85 to Africa tour. So that's going to be at Emo's tomorrow night. That's going to be a good show. What do you think?
He's bringing the 35 to Africa full circle.
We'll see if we can get him to change the name to 35 to Africa tomorrow.
Yeah, while he's here.
Yeah,
front row. Hey, can you do this solid for me for my birthday? Run a podcast.
Shamelessly plug the podcast.
Shamelessly.
Yo, I hear we're not doing
my
enough.
Man, let me just tell you real quick. I got a podcast. we gave a great review on the album. But here's the thing. I know you're on this tour. I know the album's out. It's great. What do you think about changing the tour name from 85 to 35?
Just for the night.
Yeah.
Just for the night. I'd greatly appreciate it, sir. Shout out to me and my boy.
And then he's going to look at you. It's like, who let these dudes in the back? I told y'all, no guys backstage. Oh, man.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah.
But yeah, no, we got a lot of show. We got the show tomorrow night. It's going to be a good show. But we got a long list of people. Like feel like it's hip hop season going from, starting from now into the new year. So, but we got Jadena tomorrow night, and then next Saturday, I'm being treated to a
sold out show.
A sold out show, apparently. Willow and Jaden Smith on the Aries tour. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out how old the crowd is. I'm gonna say give or take 21, 22.
Yeah,
age range.
Yeah,
and then
we're gonna be mixing it up with Gen Z for sure.
Yeah,
we're gonna be some of the few millennials in the house mixing up with Gen Z. So be prepared. Wear your swaggiest clothes, your tightest jeans, and I don't know. You got the shoe game covered.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You gonna stun on them.
Stun on them. I don't know what I'm gonna wear yet, but I'm gonna dust something out. I might find that this particular shirt that my wife told me I was too old to wear, so I might go and buy it. and then go to the show. So
you should wear some retro J's the year they were born, like the retros that came out the year.
These are 10s, but this colorway released in like 2007 when y'all were born.
Yeah.
So,
oh man.
But yeah, we got Immortal Technique. He's coming up. We were just talking about the Freddie Gibbs, Madlib, Benny the Butcher, Conway, and West Side Gun.
Man,
I'm not sure which variation of those three are going to be there. I think for sure Benny the Butcher's on there.
That's a must see.
Or it may just be Conway and West Side. No Benny. Ooh. I can't remember what it is, but it's two of them instead of the
Conway's
three.
dope though, and West Side's dope too.
Yeah.
But Benny, he has a special place in my heart this year, man.
Butcher coming.
Yeah.
So then we got ASAP Ferg, who I think it's 2 nights, and the first night's already sold out. He's at ACL Live.
Oh yeah,
so that's gonna be a good show.
Okay.
And then Chance the Rapper, the big day. He'll be in Austin. Not going.
No.
Not going.
I think my place of work may be giving away tickets for that.
It is at the Irwin Center.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Nah, man. I signed up for it.
Yeah.
Just see if I can get them. We'll see what happens.
Good luck to you. Then we got Atmosphere. We were talking, Zach and I were talking about our favorite albums. I didn't tell you my favorite, Zach, so I'll just run those down for you. Favorite? So God Loves Ugly. That's, like I said, that's
everybody's top 3.
Yeah, it's in the top 3 for sure. And then I go When Life Gives You Lemons. And then I like You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having.
Yeah, I think I came in when Life Gives You Lemons. I think that's one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was doing a tour in Austin for that album too. So
I think on You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having, I think Panic Attack makes that entire album for me. Because I listen to that song frequently. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's a good song.
It is a good song.
Good track.
So I think for that one, that and what is it? Pour Me Another One is the other one on that song or on that album. Yeah, Pour Me Another. That's another good song. So
I don't remember that one. But I'll take your word for it because that song,
Panic Attack,
that makes it. Then for sure,
Panic Attack's a good song.
Into this album more.
Then we got 070 Shake. She was big on Kanye's last album, Ye. She was on that last track. She's been kind of coming up and making her splash. So,
do you know is she signing to good music? Do you know?
I think she's still independent. Okay. I know because there's this social media influencer who's kind of like an Instagram model, but she started almost like a party planning business, and she just used to get DJs, and then as it grew, she got these unsigned artists, and so this is 070 Shake was like one of like the first 3 that she had, and I mean just blew up.
That's amazing, man. That's a awesome way to hustle.
Yeah. So I mean, she's I think she's got she's like a social media creative now. So she has I think, what is it called? It's 1 a.m. radio, which is I think the Spotify playlist, and then 1 a.m. is like the tour. She was here for South by last year. She did, a couple parties. Okay. I don't know if you remember when we had the Illmore.
Mm-hmm.
It was Ill Roots and Scoremore did the little house at, after hours or whatever. And so it looks like the Illmore is kind of, transitioned, or not Illmore, but Scoremore has transitioned to bigger projects. And then kind of 1 a.m. has kind of taken that the torch from them. So you got her coming, and then you got your boys Earth Gang.
Yeah, Dream, one of my favorites from Dreamville. Earth Gang, yeah. Those guys are amazing. From their skits to their album layout to their lyrics. They're just some funny guys that make amazing hip hop music. And I'm excited to see them. I've seen them once, saw them with Smino, and now it's Earth Gang and somebody else. I can't remember, but it was Come and Take It.
Yeah.
And they had this funny saying that they always use, something about let them titties out. You hear it on their first albums. They say it a lot. I'll be looking forward to that show. I think I'll try to make it out to that show. They'll probably have somebody pretty good touring with them as well.
I think they're one more album before like they're gonna kind of
really blow on the scene.
Yeah, I think they're just under
Break
the
the
surface.
underground.
Yeah, I think they're just under the surface, and I think they might roll through here one more time for those tickets start become like $50.
Oh,
a ticket or whatever.
So
before processing fees, normally the processing fees get you to 50.
Yeah,
but looking forward to that show. Mm-hmm. And they just released a project, I believe, or it's on the list of things that's come out this year. So I think one more, and I think they're going to be.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
a lot of there's a guy that I work with he's a big Earth Gang fan as well. So I think they're gonna break soon. You're right. You're
right. So just so we get back to what the theme of this podcast is bring the smoke. We are always smoking hookah. We might not always talk about the hookah and the tobacco that we're smoking, but today, what do we got in here, Jay?
Man, we got an amalgam of different flavors in here. So Trey and I kind of came up with this Skittle flavor that we wanted to make. Before we started recording, we were smoking some pink lemonade, lemon mint, and it just wasn't hitting right. Like those two are just two base shishas that should be mixed with something. Mm-hmm. So thinking about Skittles, because Halloween just passed, candy is big in the air right now. We took the pink lemonade, lemon mint, we took some kiwi, we took some Skittles from Roar, and we took some lime, and what other flavor did we throw in there? Orange Keef. Yeah, Orange Keef. So kind of covered the whole rainbow of flavors there, mixed them up. I think I did maybe about 20% base for the Skittles from Roar, and then maybe 15 of everything else except for the Orange Keef.
Orange Keef will take over everything.
Yeah, Orange Keef is strong. It is a strong shisha. So go light on that, even if you're smoking it by yourself. One night we were doing a pre-production. We were smoking on some Orange Keef.
That had us on our ass, man.
And we're not rookies either. We're not rookies by any means, and that had me clutching my chest, rolling on the floor. I was not feeling that, but so if you can get your hands on those flavors, mix them up with that ratio, I think you will get a nice balance of smoke that is satisfying, is smooth. Just remember, go light on the Orange Keef.
Oh yeah. But so a lot of projects have come out since the last time we got on the mic. First one we got is an album that you kind of brought to my attention. We listened to it the other day, and it's going to find its way in the rotation, man. Rex, and this was Father of Three. I guess this is the third installment, somewhere out there. And I thought it was a good project, man. What do you think?
I really enjoyed the project. I think he has a really good balance with his melodies along with his lyrics, and he really shined by presenting that and I think this may be one of his better projects he's put out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to press rewind and hit a couple of the other projects so that you can so I can kind of get the full weight of what he's brought out up until this point. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good project you brought to my attention.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I hope the listeners out there give it a chance and find some of the same value points that I found with it. Did you have any standout tracks that you really liked off the album?
It was No Permissions and Falling.
Falling was really good.
No Permissions, that was the one with Boss in there. But you and I was like, yeah, was that Boss slipped up on this track? So, it was I thought he had a really good verse, but, considering that I only listened to it probably 2 times through, and, normally you were trying to sell me on the first time we listened through it for the first one. So I was like, Jay, it's good. Okay. Let it play. So, once I've been on vacation the last 2 weeks. So, once I get back and forth on my commute to work, I think, I'll be able to listen to it in the car, vibe with it a little bit more. And I mean, if it's good on the first listen, chances are it's going to make its way in the rotation, especially those 2 songs.
Yeah, it's definitely a good vibe album. The only problem I had with the album where there was a B-side track that I didn't really care for, but I would say 85% of the album I really enjoyed. It has some shout outs to his mother on there, some shout outs to his homeboys on there that passed away. Yeah. So I thought that was very personal, and that's always amazing thing when you could connect to an artist through their personal stories, and then they're able to put them to music.
I like when, especially because he has kind of the mixture. He's got a little hip hop, he's got a little soul. And so, especially on some of those tracks when he wants to get a little bit introspective, I think he has his vibe that he wants when he wants to really kind of get, super personal. I think he has a really good flow and a good way that he sets up the track, at least from what I heard on this last project.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, cool. Appreciate it. And then the other one we got, Apollo Brown, Sincerely Detroit. This is another one that, man, forever grinding, man. Just out there. If you don't know him, you need to get familiar with him. I mean, he's put out, I think, 5 or 6 projects, and on top of what he produces as a producer. And what I will say that the album is long.
It is very long.
And there's, what did you say? There's 56 features?
Yeah.
Yeah.
56 features, 21 tracks, and has a runtime of 78 minutes.
I mean,
it's not for a casual listener. I think they even have a song in there. Like, do you even like really listen to hip hop? Mm-hmm. Like, there's a song on there that's like, this is for a pure hip hop fan. Like, you can't enjoy this album as a snack album. It's not 13 track, album. It's, you're going to have to sit down, listen to it, vibe with it. And there are a lot of great spitters on this album.
And I think for the majority of them, they are from Detroit.
That's amazing in itself. So it kind of shows you that Detroit, the underground scene is booming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's just there's so many people that are coming out of Detroit. Your favorite, Big Sean, obviously he's from the D. And, he just brought the whole city out. Obviously did. Eminem, Royce the 5'9", D12, obviously. There's a lot of people from Detroit. So, it probably wasn't that hard to get all these artists. They probably were just hanging around in Detroit.
Yeah. And they're probably like, yo, if Apollo Brown wants to put me on an album, then I'm there.
Oh, yeah. I said, I think his production value is sky high. And we were talking about this earlier. I think he's probably one of the super producers of the underground.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I was going to pose this question earlier, but does he have enough to make it as a mainstream? Like, is he going to have that appeal to a mass audience? Because he's in a space where people who are into underground hip hop, they're going to come across him. But people, when you get in the mainstream, you might not always find some of these artists. True. Because, it's a big C as far as, mass consumption hip hop in the mainstream. So do you think he has that replayability from a mainstream perspective?
I think he does, but the question really is, does he want that? He doesn't even have a tagline like most DJs will. He's all about the production value and then just letting the lyricist shine on his beats. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay. You just have to sit back and ask yourself, what does that artist really want out of his work? Does he just want the work to shine, or does he want the fame and along with that? I think he already has the respect.
Yeah.
And for OG that's in the game, I think that's all they really want at the end of the day.
And that's just a fine line whether or not he really wants that notoriety from a mainstream perspective. I think he gets his props and definitely gets his shout outs on the underground scene, but transitioning into the next level, that's a lot more money comes in, that's more opportunities. True. But
the accolades that come with the Grammys and all that stuff that come with that.
Yeah, you got to operate in that space to to get decorated. So
that's true.
I don't know. I'd love to see him kind of work with some more major artists, like maybe the top tier, like a Kendrick Lamar. J. Cole obviously makes his own beats and rarely kind of gets out of that space. But it'd be interesting to see just the way that his sound is. If he could slide a couple beats to maybe some of our favorite rappers that are still alive and well.
And it's not that he hasn't worked with big, what we consider big artists, but these are big artists in the underground, minus Chance, right? I think Chance is mainstream. He's worked with Chance, Freddie Gibbs, Master Ace, Black Milk, Odyssey, and one of my favorites that I mentioned on one of the first podcasts, Sky Zoo.
Oh, yeah, Sky Zoo for sure. Mm-hmm. He's another big fish in a small pond, man.
Yeah.
And he's had projects where I thought, he's been on a bunch of countdowns before, as releasing one of the top hip hop projects, of the year a few times for some of his albums. So, But again, he's still, under those train tracks, man.
And I think some of the standout tracks, I had 2 standout tracks from this album. Deception and Woes, had Clear Soul Forces on there.
Yeah.
And from there, one of my favorite artists from Clear Souls is Novelist. And he's kind of one of those, I guess you would consider him nerdcore rappers. And he had an album that came out this year called Metal Hokage, which is very, if you're into anime and any of that nerd scene stuff, like that was a dope project for me. It had a lot of Jedi references, a lot of Dragon Ball references, and Naruto, all that really nerdy stuff you have to be in the scene for. And for him to take that, put it in a verse and make it pure hip hop and not just like kiddie and funny. He's a dope MC to me, and that was a standout track. And then the other one was 365 on there.
Okay. You think this is going to shuffle the deck as far as your top 10 of the year so far?
I think it might just round out the top 10. I'm going to have to really finish out the rest of the year, really sit down and really map that out. I think the top 5 might be sealed for me, but the top 10 is still fluctuating. Yeah.
Well, Blueface still hasn't dropped yet, man. So I know that might rearrange your top 5 real quick.
Oh,
so what's this other album you got for me?
Oh, so from that album, like I told you, the 365 was a dope track. I discovered an artist named Ty Ferris on there. Ty Ferris had dropped a project a little earlier this year called Room 39 Part 2. I listened to some of his stuff before. He had a mixtape called Bulls vs. Pistons. Yeah. That was really dope. And so I kind of just dug in, and it's actually been on repeat all day today and like the end of the day Friday, and I can't get enough of it. He's a Detroit artist that came up in the battle scene. I think he's gained a lot of steam. He's gotten a lot of accolades from Royce da 5'9", Eminem, and they really big him up, and they have come out and said this is a true lyricist right here, and kind of get that recognition for those top dogs in Detroit is a big deal, I think.
Yeah, I mean they have some heavy hitters out there. They can't be denied. So I didn't get a chance to check out this one, but your recommendation for this span of episode prep, you gave me a good project, so I think you're back in my good graces for recommending hip hop for a little bit.
Oh man, did y'all hear that? It's an epic episode, man. So I just want to kind of end up within. He has 6 other mixtapes that might be worth checking out for some of us, and some of the standout tracks on this project were Different Bracket, Please Don't Overdose, and You Didn't Know You Was in Hell. So,
nice.
I think if you want to just jump in and see if you really like it, check out those 3 tracks, and it'll give you a sense of what type of artist he is.
Nice. Well, Gang Starr came out, and came out the day I left. The wife and I went to Jamaica for about a week just to kind of get away, hang out. We were married out there, so we this is our trip back since the wedding. So we had a really good time. But more importantly, I had opportunity to kind of listen to some music, and good music at that. And this was one of those projects. Gang Starr, one of the best yet, is the name of the project. And this is going to be their last album because Guru passed away, I think, about 2 years ago. Yeah. So rest in power on that, man. Yeah. Gang Starr, man. What do you think about them?
I always enjoyed their stuff. Like whenever I have a throwback playlists, they always make it on there, and they're like top 5 in my old school throwback hip hop albums. Like along with was that Black Star with Talib Kweli and
Mos Def.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like those 2, like just listen to that. Their cadence and their flow is always amazing.
I think they have some of the most iconic hip hop beats, to date. I mean, they're constantly being, resampled, or they've been freestyled over, 1,000 times. And so I had, some of my favorite tracks, not from the album, but just great Gang Starr tracks. Mass Appeal, which again is probably one of their most like recognizable songs. Next to
beat come on, no.
Skills, that's another one that's just like right there. Royalty, that's with Casey and JoJo from Jodeci. My Steez. I mean, another classic, just just, I mean, it's gangsta.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Betrayal. I think it's him and Scarface. So it's very like nice, storytelling song. Scarface was, I think he was maybe 2 or 3 albums in. So he was in his like really dark place. So like it makes for a really good song. And then Right Where You Stand, that's one of their newer songs when Guru was still alive. And I mean, I just love that. The beat, Jadakiss is featured on there. Jadakiss gives like a really good verse. I mean, I just love that song too. So, I mean, like I said, it sucks we lost a pioneer in, Guru, but, especially his side project that he did, Jazz Mats, where, he takes early jazz and kind of raps over him, does some poetry and stuff like that. I mean, he was just a very classic man and a classic hip hop, lyricist. So we lost one right there.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job in kind of paying homage to him and respect to him on the album.
Yeah.
And it was very sombering to hear that.
Yeah, and so some of the notable tracks, the intro, Lights Out with DJ Premier, it just kind of brings the vibe of like, a hip hop concert with the crowds going crazy and they're just feeding off of everything. And, it just reminds you of, the presence that they brought to the stage and things like that. The other one, Hitman with Q-Tip, which anything with Q-Tip on, I'm going to gravitate towards. Like, I got to check it out because Q-Tip's just a great producer and, he's known for some notable lines too. So then we got Family and Loyalty. That's the one with J. Cole. That was the single that they had released. That was, a really good song to hear him, kind of rapping with Guru and just kind of makes you wonder, like, what if?
That one really stood out for me too. That was one of those albums, the tracks that kind of hit me.
And then I think it's like the second to last track, So Many Rappers. One thing, Guru was always good about just telling you how great he was while being as great as he was. He brags about it, but at the same time, you get why he's so good, whether it's his instrumentation, the subject matter, the way that he kind of takes over, and just him talking about, you got all these rappers over here, ain't nobody rapping.
Yeah.
And he's, I'm rapping, like I'm one of the best to do it and I'm rapping and here's the reason why. So that was definitely one of the standout tracks for me. And just, we're not going to get another Gang Starr where, you're going to get that raw mentality. I feel like, moving forward, it's going to get into the Tupac era where a lot of the songs are going to be studio produced and it's not going to be as organic as probably this project was. But then we got, your boy tried to stick his head out of the door and see if check the temperature outside. Logic's back.
It was cold as winter.
Again, man. Logic is back again.
Winter is coming.
I don't know if this album's going to make it before the end of the year. I hope not. I mean, he needs to take a year off. He needs to ice those knees and just kind of sit on the sidelines for a little bit, man, because he's played some minutes and the hip hop is tired right now, man. He dropped 2 singles. We got Round Here and OCD. Now I believe these artists is some artists that he's trying to get out. And so this could be the reason why he's kind of pushing out some tracks. Spoiler alert, these aren't as good either. So,
oh man, that sucks to hear, because dude can spit, but was that song that he was featured on with French Montana? Was it? That came out, and I listened to it. And I think Joe gave him some smoke on this, and he actually stopped the song, listened to the lyrics, and read them out loud.
Oh, this is the one about like, because it's about them being in like a strip club, and like they're talking about how like has Logic even been to a strip club? Because based on this verse, I don't think he's even been to a like. He went and it looked like he was like on his Drake and wanted to go in there and he was probably trying to save a stripper from going on stage. It was, that song is terrible.
It's terrible.
These songs are terrible. Yeah. Like hey man, I know
if it wasn't for his flow, like him speeding it up as fast as he does and his cadence, you would just think that everything he does is just garbage.
That one, by the way, is Twisted.
Yeah.
Oh, Twisted.
And that one is, like I said, it's a good song. Like if you would have put French Montana, Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, you probably could throw Trina on there and you could have made this almost like a ladies' night for the summer. The song would have gone off way better than what it went. And like I said, Logic doesn't even, I mean, I hope after he made the song, he's like, I probably should check out a strip club to see if what I'm writing down. Because it is bad. I mean, that is
should have taken him to one before he sat down. Like, okay, here's the strip club. Like, what are you feeling? Like,
he's never been to a strip club. I can assure you. Some of those bars. He stayed home. Oh yeah, he's a
homebody.
Oh
so
yeah,
he stayed home. So he went to the strip club. He wrote his verse from the house.
When you're a conscious rapper, but you want to get that club in the strip club.
They probably live streamed it to him. And he wrote his verse from the live stream.
Not a good song. Definitely not a good song. Then we got this next project. This is interesting to me because I saw the album that it was coming out, and I'm like, okay. I was like, he's good. You know, he's not really dropped anything memorable, you know, as, you know, entirety of a project and stuff like that. But then I noticed that they were saying that this was his debut album. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I thought the last two were debut albums. Yeah. And Dave East is who we're talking about.
They've all been, I guess, considered mixtapes. I feel like this dude has more rookie seasons than Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's like, yo, man, like how many reset buttons can you hit, man? Because it's like, oh, brand new debut album. Like, no. This is like, we're on like album number 4 being the debut album. And I mean, Paranoid, I think, was the project that I thought was his official release, because he had a lot of heavy hitters on that project. But for them to say that this one's, you know, his debut album is crazy to me, because he's been putting out where the studio quality of the instrumentals and everything else would make it seem that a major label is really getting behind him and pushing these projects out. And I know he's very popular. You know, he's from New York, so he's one of the top artists.
Nas's dude.
Yeah.
This is Nas's protege right here.
But I mean, like I said, for the amount of artists that he got, and with the background or with the backing that he's got, you know, lyricists coming and jumping on tracks with him, I would have thought that, you know, this was going to be like, you know, his 3rd or 4th album kind of being out in the mainstream. But they're saying that this one is his debut.
That's interesting. I did listen to the album. I didn't quite finish the entire thing. It seems a little bit long, but what I did like about it is that he wasn't just talking about coke like he always does, and it was a little more personal. Had some stuff from his mom on there, you know, a couple skits like, you know, waking, you know, remember in the morning when your mom's waking you up, getting ready for school, you know, that whole vibe. Like, oh man, that took me back a little bit. Let me let you touch on the production for a little bit. Yeah, the production,
and again, this is just some of the things that, you know, like I said, because he's had, you know, these major producers kind of backing him. You got A-Rab music on there, Swiss Beats, Timberland, Murder Beats, and then, you know, DJ Premier got in on the intro track, and he's a featured artist on the intro track, and then he has a couple songs that he actually produced. So, like I said, the production is sky high on this album.
Of course, you got Nas behind you.
Well, and again, Nas is a featured artist on there too. So, you know, on the tracks, They Want to Kill You is, you know, the intro track with DJ Premier, and I think Swiss Beats did that intro. And like I said, DJ Premier is kind of hyping everything up on there. And then you got the song with Nas, Godfather 4, which I think they had a mixtape out where they did a few, you know, songs together. I mean, it, you know, not anything, you know, major release wise, but I mean, you know, it looks like they were just kind of working through some stuff and really seeing what they were doing. And that's probably how they got this Godfather 4. Need a Sign. And then they have the song OG with Rick Ross and your boy The Dream, which, you know, he's always good for a hook. You know,
the hook master. Oh man, it was like him, Akon, T-Pain,
Neo. Yeah. Oh man, they were. You couldn't go wrong, man. No, they were like the R. Kelly of, you know, hook singing. You know, and then I think it's like the, you know, one of the last songs of the album, Every Day with Gunna, which, you know, he's been hit or miss with me this year. You know, he's had his project out. He's had a couple of featured verses, and, you know, it's been hot and cold. But on this track, you know, he was being himself on this song. He had a really good verse. You know, for those who listen to Gunna, I mean, you're gonna hear that verse, like, oh, this is when Gunna's at his best right here.
Yeah, I talked a lot of shit about Gunna because he didn't show up for the cypher. But dude has some bars. So I'm not gonna lie. And like you said, he's hit or miss with me too. But more often than not, lately he's been a hit for me, especially with his features. Yeah, that he's been giving it to like multiple DJs and whatnot on on certain projects. So,
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what his next album is going to be like. The first album wasn't that bad at all.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious to see where he goes.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, as far as the Dave East album, just kind of like to wrap everything up on that one, again, not a top 10 album, you know, because we're getting, you know, we got about a month and a half before, you know, we're going to start cutting people off with what they're going to be releasing. And, you know, if this is going to be something that's going to be memorable for the year. I think this one misses. I think that this one's going to fall out of the top 20 for me. It's good. Like I said, out of those little 4 or 5 songs that I mentioned, I'll play those again, but it's not enough for me to kind of shuffle the deck for them.
Yeah, usually from Dave East, like I have a gym playlist. I have a couple of his projects on there, and I haven't quite found any that I would take and throw on my call straight fire.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're,
gym
you know,
playlist, so.
You know, just need something to ride to, and you just hit press play. I mean, I think some of these songs are going to be in, you know, those random rotations or random playlists through Spotify, Google, what have you. But yeah, for me, as far as the songs that I kind of have a Rolodex for, a few of these are going to fall in that category for this year's playlist.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we'll switch it, taking them to church on this one.
Yeah, man.
It finally dropped, man. It finally dropped.
Waiting for it. Yeah. I've been waiting to talk about it.
Yeah.
As much as I was anticipating to listen to it. So, yeah, Jesus King, 11 tracks, 27 minutes. It's a snack album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Ye's whole modus operandi right now is to throw out snack albums. He's no longer putting out full albums with skits and all that anymore. I think that Ye is gone.
I want to know how many times that they redid this album, because you know Ye had the album before this. You know, he made that in like 2 or 3 weeks. You know, out in Montana. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see, or curious to know how long it took him to do this project and how fast they actually recorded some of the stuff, because you know him and the Sunday Service, they've been kind of on a little tear. You know, going from universities, kind of popping up at places and doing these live shows, which the live shows were dope. But I mean, for them to have 11 tracks, and they've been doing this probably for almost a year now. Yeah. You know, I thought the Sunday Service Choir would have been utilized a little bit more, because, you know, they've worked together, you know, quite a while. And I you know, they had that classic when they were recording in Africa. Yeah. And, you know, when he was kind of showing off the kind of his sound that he was working on. Yeah. And I thought this album was going to be like just take over. And then it kind of switched up, and he went, you know, almost full gospel on here. So
hopefully they're not done with that sound yet, because the choir is amazing. You said something during our pre-production meeting, like listening to them on a great audio system.
Oh yeah. So it was one morning I was walking into work, and they were playing it. You know, they have a really good sound system, you know, at my job. And so they were actually able to play the album, you know, over our sound system. And you can really appreciate the range of sound that he used, especially on that intro track, because, you know, if anyone who's gone to church and they've gone to like a black choir, you know, that sound is just bouncing off the room, and they're just really kind of filling it up. And that's what the intro sounded like. I mean, it felt like when I was walking into work that, I mean, I was literally walking up to the altar to testify, man. I mean, like I said, it's a great system. And then for it to be just such a great track, I mean, it just took over the building, and you're like, man, that sounds awesome. Like you were in a cathedral. And I mean, that's part of, you know, what makes Kanye great, is because he's such a good producer, and he's able to just like manipulate the sound and, you know, make it feel like you were just right there. I mean, I felt like I was in church. And, like I said, that intro track is enough to repeat. I mean, I'll listen to that probably first thing in the morning, get my Sunday going.
Yeah, I think that was one of the tracks that I really replayed. So, like when the album ended and that song started again, before I could switch to anything else, I had to just stop and just listen to it all over again. It felt like, because it was such a powerful song and so capturing.
Oh yeah. Well, and then, you know, he had the other couple other songs, Closed on Sunday, Follow God, and On God, and I mean, those are going to be the standout tracks for me. Pusha T is on there. You know, you and I were kind of laughing back. It's just like, no matter what, Push is going to talk about some coke, man.
Yeah, he can't help it.
He may not say the word coke, but it's definitely going to be some cocaine laced lyrics, man. And that, you know, he alluded to it.
Yeah.
Didn't say it, but
Yeah, you know what he was talking about when you listen to his story that he was telling.
oh man,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because I think Clips is on that, or like the
No
Clips
Malice,
is actually on there. So that was the other thing too, is that it was a reunion, and it was nice that Push could like, yo, it's been a while since they heard you, man. Come on out. I know he does his No Malice, his moniker that he's releasing his music under now, and it's more from a spiritual place and just more of a conscious than what he was before, kind of getting out of that street life and that cocaine rap like his brother. But I mean, he dropped a good verse too. I mean, considering that he'd been kind of out of the mainstream for a while. He didn't lose a step either.
It makes me want to look forward to some of his projects and see what he's putting out. So I thought that was very cool of Kanye to put the group back together in some sense. Like, I thought it would never happen again, to be honest with you. So
I mean, I just think it's too much conflicting ideologies, especially where they are in life right now, that it'd be very hard for them to. What made Clips so good is how they were able to bounce off of each other. And I think since they're in two different places, I just don't think the album would really complement the way that they have done from previous projects, where they're Lord Willin', Hell Hath No Fury, and then of course they did their mixtapes with Abliva and Sandman, the Rehab Game compilations, and so I don't know. I don't know if we'll get Clips back. I don't want him to go the Mace route where he goes, he leaves, he goes, he leaves.
Yeah.
I don't need that from him. He's a legend in the hip hop. I want him to stay right where he is. So he's happy.
Absolutely. I think to end up on just the album itself, because we still have a lot to talk about. Yay! I think they came out with a video for Follow God, I want to say.
And Closed on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go check those out. Very simple videos. There wasn't anything visually inspiring that I'm used to from Ye.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's still nice to put a visual to the music.
Well, and that's what we were talking about the other day, too, is about how Kanye's albums are so visual. So, whether it's College Dropout, whether it's Late Registration, Graduation was, a lot more colorful. And then going into My Dark Twisted Fantasy, obviously that was a well orchestrated production, especially when he was, touring and performing it.
Yes.
And, you and I were talking about how, with the song Runaway,
seeing it
how,
live.
How he performs it, it's how he can just really kind of take care of the crowd and have them hanging on, every single note with that initial piano drop.
Ding.
Oh yeah.
And he can just do it for 3 minutes straight sometimes, and the crowd's just going crazy the whole time.
Like just have it in the palm of your hand, just going back and forth, and the crowd loving every minute of it. So, obviously he's getting ready to take this Sunday service on tour, and I'm interested to see, what they can, what the stage set is going to look like, because on top of him using the Sunday service, it looks like he's using kind of like this light therapy that he's using as far as to perform, or some of the stuff that I've seen. So it looks like it's really going to, take from the church vibe along with this very healing light show that he's been talking about and putting together. So I'm interested to see, because he's known for his, big production on tour. He had the floating stage for Yeezus, man. Mm-hmm. And, just to talk about Yeezus real quick, because I thought you and I talked about something interesting the other day too about that album, is you were talking about how you didn't necessarily like the album. It doesn't, play for you well.
It's not that I don't like the album. Is what I was saying is that this album feels like the most complete album since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah.
The others felt like the engineering, mixing, mastering, they weren't finished. They felt like a little bit rushed. Granted, it may have been the style that he was going for, but I don't feel like they were whole. Like when you listen to this album, Jesus is King, it feels full, complete, doesn't feel like it's missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from Yeezus to
Life of Pablo,
Ye, they all felt like they were missing something. Even with Rick Rubin coming in and trying to mix and master Life of Pablo, it still felt like, man, it doesn't sound whole like I was getting on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Well, and that was one thing we were talking about too, is even with Jesus is King, but I felt that My Dark Twisted Fantasy was one of the more complete albums that he had released, looking back on it, because you and I were talking about it. Life of Pablo, you and I probably don't even listen to the same songs because he, reworked so many of those songs. So when I might listen to, Fade from the initial version that was released, it sounds completely, or not completely different, but he does tweak things to make it sound a different way, by the time that finished release product came out.
Same thing.
Wolves,
yeah.
So, he took artists off, put other artists on. So it's like, why didn't you do this? It's just a crazy hodgepodge of Wolves or Life of Pablo is like 4.5 hours long when you listen to all the director cuts. You know what I mean?
So and that's why I kind of say that you can kind of feel it all the way through. Even Ye, we know that he scrapped a whole idea before he put out that album, and it felt rushed.
Yeah,
it didn't feel finished. So I think that's the reason I feel. But you made a great point on Yeezus that I want you to speak on.
Well, and I said that I thought that the album was great. But I think
the track list.
Yeah, I think it's too heavy, like too much meat at the beginning of the album, and then you go down this list where you have like 3-4 songs that they don't keep the same tempo and the same pace as like the Black Skinheads, New Slaves, In It, all these other songs, and then it just kind of dies off, and then you get Bound at the end of it.
Yeah, you get
and
Bound,
so
yeah.
I was telling you, I was like, if he just would have shuffled them to where you kind of get more of like an even kill, so where it's not just like, this album is amazing. It's like, whoa, where'd that album go? And then Bound's the last song. It's like, oh, okay, there it is.
I sat down and I thought about why he might have done that. Yeezus was an angry album.
Oh, yeah.
And then, if you start off the album really angry, do you want to end it angry?
Yeah, and it kind of like transitions to like him being upset at like society, and then he's kind of going into where like he's upset with himself, like for decisions that he made, especially it was like Hard Liquor or Hold My Liquor, where he's talking about like, how he's just like, what does it say? He's like, Yeezus all on your sofa or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like he's in this like intoxicated
Red
state.
October.
Yeah. And so he's he's mad at society, then he's mad at himself. And then he just kind of comes out of this fog, and I guess it's supposed to represent him getting married to Kim Kardashian. So like, that's a whole thing. Yeah. Right. So it's all over the place. But
yeah, you made a great point though, and it made me sit down and reflect on the way that I initially felt about that album, and what state I was also in when I listened to that album.
Well, I think so much when that album came out is a lot of people were like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this? But like we were talking about the other day, when College Dropout came out, obviously that was an instant classic. Late Registration came out, instant classic. Graduation comes out, and it's like, oh, okay, it's more mainstream. He got T-Pain, he gets Mos Def, John Legend's on it a little bit more. Lil Wayne was on that album too.
Yeah, a lot of features.
Yeah, so you have that, and then My Dark Twisted Fantasy comes out. And it is just this grandioso production. The artists are all over the place. He gets Rihanna, he gets John Legend, Jay-Z's on this album, which he hadn't been on since Late Registration. He drops, a verse on one of your favorite songs on the album. I feel a type of way about Monster. But, it's a good project. And I've always not been fond of My Dark Twisted Fantasy because it's not the Ye that I wanted. And then Yeezus comes out and I'm like, well, I don't know who this guy is anymore. But looking back on it, My Dark Twisted Fantasy is a great album. Like I said, his more complete album. But I think Yeezus is, it's an album now that it's had time to breathe, and you've seen kind of trends in hip hop kind of go in the direction that he took that project. You can appreciate it a little bit more. So, so he's going to be out on tour. I'm not sure, how close he's going to get to Austin or whether or not he's going to make it. But, it's been in the news that, a lot of people are concerned. We're going to get Life of Pablo, where he's going to be, ranting and raving for 20 minutes, while he's on tour. So, they're saying his mental state is probably not the best place to be out there on the road. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if he just focuses on the music, sort of like he does on Sunday service, just give us that instead of the ranting and raving, I think he'll have a successful tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on the
mental state in the end too.
Well, he's been on the interview circuit. And so, there's this classic YouTube video of, someone remixed him, and, a lot of, first of all, the original interview with Big Boy it's a good interview. And I get what he's trying to say. It's just all over the place. Like he's just in and out of concepts and analogies that really don't fit what he's talking about. But
yeah, I said he's like when he does an interview, he's pretty much Jackson Pollock. He just paints it all on the wall, and you have to step back, take a look at it, and really kind of see what direction he was going with it, and also be critical of it, because he says some bullshit still.
Yeah.
But he's always said bullshit. I don't understand why we're like so surprised that he says bullshit.
Yeah.
He's the same person when George Bush doesn't like black people. You know, he's still that person, just saying whatever comes to his mind at that time, and it's trying to decode and decipher that in that moment while listening to that interview. Well,
and I also think too, because we were saying the other day too, is I just feel like he should just stop doing interviews. You know, take the Jay-Z and Beyonce route and just shut up. Because I treat it like a lot of artists. Like you look at someone like Frank Ocean, like Sia, Adele really doesn't do a whole lot of interviews either. But I have to imagine it has to be hard for artists that operate at this high level that, they have so much going on in their head, like how the album's going to sound. Now we're on the tour, how the tour is going to look and do all this other stuff. And in the process of planning this out, you're asking them to talk about the album while they're still piecing together the album in ways that, it's already out in the public and things like they're thinking about like, what can I do with this album to push it forward? And I think that interview is a great representation of that. Like he has all these ideas that he's in his head that he's trying to organize out. And you're asking general questions like, well, what gave you the idea for this album? I like church.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a very simple answer, but in his head, you can see the wheels are turning because he's wanting to do this with the light therapy. He's got this big choir that he can use for the instrumentation from his old stuff now into his new stuff. And he's just, you could tell his mind is just racing and racing.
Yeah, he even pauses a lot during the interview, and you can see the wheels turning. And he's like, yo, look, I'm sitting down with these bigwig people that are moving the world, making the global market go round and round, and I'm getting all these ideas from them, and we're collaborating. Even though he's putting out art, he's still in the process of understanding what his own art is in the moment.
Well, yeah, and I mean, what this art is going to do. And he's kind of in this weird space where, we're not going to get a Yeezus album if, Yeezys are selling out in stores. It can't be as edgy as it was. He's trying to find that fine line where he can be who he is, but at the same time, not lose sponsorship or the financial backing for this other successful business. And, given how expansive as he is with his music, it's not like a Jay-Z where, you can get the same stuff and it sells well, and then you can drop 444 and just like completely change of how hip hop's going to be consumed at. So, like I said, I just really feel like he, is it mental illness? A little bit of that too, just because of how he's sporadic as he is, and just looks like out of control. He may seem, on the surface, but I just think he has so much going on that, trying to put it all together for an interview when he just has so much going on. I mean, you're just asking too much of a human being right there. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a musical genius. And then he's got a successful fashion line, and, he's a family man. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's going on where, it can't be simplified in a 45-minute interview. Yeah. It just can't.
And I think a lot of what we get from Kanye and his albums are snapshots of his mental state. Mm-hmm. You think of 808 and Heartbreaks.
Oh, yeah.
Like you take that project and you see where he was. You think of Yeezus, where he was, and take a picture of that in that time frame. And right now he's on a spiritual journey. Yeah. So we get the snapshot of him where he is. So I'm curious to see if this continues, or are we actually just this at this time, this is what we get. And this is the art piece that we get.
This is just the creative space he's in right now.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think he always, and I think a lot of artists do, when they're making a new album, they go through, it's like, I like the new sound. He's like, but give me some of that, college dropout. Give me some of that late registration. And I think you kind of get pieces of it. He still brings out the 808 sampler, even on Jesus is King. You still kind of get, the heavy instrumentation that you get from, or percussions from, Yeezus. And, obviously the same, gospel inspired that you get from Life of Pablo. Like he's constantly using elements from previous album to kind of like, this is Ye, but just kind of in a reimagining and reincarnating. Yeah, of course. Evolution. And so, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be stuck in this one, or is this just an album that, this is what he's dressed as. And then when he goes back in hiding, he might come back dressed as a completely different character.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, do you think he's still the voice of the community?
I think he is a influencer, and whether or not he needs to be who I go to, the classic Dave Chappelle stand up where it's like, oh, someone get me Ja Rule. I don't think that I'm going to live and die with the opinion of Kanye West right now.
Why should you though? He's still an artist. Like, I think that he makes some noise, you listen to it or not, and you kind of move on from it. He's not a politician or a person out here. I understand that he has a platform to speak on and that it's powerful and whatnot, but I just think he's just like me or you going out saying what their opinion is. The only difference is that he has more influence at the time right now.
Well, yeah, I think he just, there's a struggle to stay relevant. There's a struggle to, be, continue to perform at a high level, because he's one of the top selling, artists, in music, not just hip hop. And I think in the past, he's made controversial statements that kind of pushed his celebrity further, which opened doors for these other opportunities that he's been able to explore. But at the same time, it's almost at times that he's trying to recreate these moments to stay, edgy and, someone who seems to be involved and things like that. And we just know that's not the case. A lot of times, some of the comments that he made, he's just ill informed. Yeah. And, I think that's been some of the criticism about him is that, like, listen, like, you have a massive following. Like, you say something and people pay attention. You need to make sure that you're saying the right things, because people can take what you say. And for these people that don't read books or follow anything, they take that as law and they push that forward. And then you get this era where everyone is just misinformed and there's miscommunication, and you're just having to, surf through the sea of, just misinformation. And, for someone like him, I mean, that's dangerous to society because he's pushing that narrative, and that narrative is false.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it still falls at your feet. Like, during our stage of learning in high school, even if you went to college, the thing that they always taught us was to critically think for yourself. Like, why take what someone tells you for face value?
Yeah.
You have the whole world of information at your fingertips, like just like he does, right? But why aren't you fact checking?
Yeah.
Like, like if he says something messed up, like he needs to sit down, like, look, man, you said this and it's wrong. Here's why it's wrong. And like, he gets that education, but why aren't you doing that education for yourself? Or why aren't we in our communities?
Yeah. And I mean, I just think he, with so much stuff going on and the way that he probably gets his news, he's regurgitating it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's good sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you've seen a couple of people like the gentleman from TMZ after you made the slavery comment, but like, hey, I don't want to take any of your shine away. I just want you to understand this as fact, and that what you're saying changes the narrative of that. And this is very bad. Like, you can't say stuff like this because it has repercussions, and it bothers me that you don't recognize that.
That's fair. And that's a fair critique. Like, you sit down and have a conversation with that person and let them know that this is the reason why. And whether they continue down that path of misinformation or correct themselves is where you should then start analyzing whether this person is legitimate or not. You know? I think that's a fair critique. Like, we've all been misinformed at some point in time, said some bullshit, and we correct it, or we fact check it, and like, oh shit, I was wrong with that. Even on this podcast, we've done it a couple times.
But I mean, the thing about it too, I was just like, I think, like I said, because of his reach, it's a lot harder to backpedal from.
Oh,
because especially the way that social media operates.
Yeah.
He might say that at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then by the time he gets home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon,
cancel.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got to start from scratch the next day. And by that time, the damage is done. It's a lot easier to destroy than it is to build. So it's, that's why you always have to be very, very careful in how you comment on things like that.
I agree with you. And, but it's the only reason I say this and just give people the opportunity to learn, because we can clearly see this person is learning real time.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see where he continues to evolve.
Yeah. Well, being that this is, month of November, it's getting close to that time when we're going to be, grabbing the pen and pad and re-listening to some projects and really trying to hone in on, who's going to be our top spot for the year and, who's falling out, who made the best album, who is trash. That's what we're good at here. But, I when we were going over the production, I was like, you know what? Let me make sure that I get all of the albums that have been released so far, because you and I have had a couple conversations of albums that I thought were 2018 and they actually were 2019, and someone that I thought 2019 have actually been released in 2018 and they're just starting to get their play. But I mean, I essentially came up with 53 albums that have come out this year that we've either talked about or notable. And, these are just listed. I was just trying to see how they were. These albums aren't in any particular order, but this is a lot of music we've consumed this year. And to see it on paper like this is amazing, because it's like, wow, like this is what I've done with my time this year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, amongst other things, but I mean, this is what I've done this year, as far as what I've listened to and what I've consumed. And, a lot of this, I would say probably about 90% of this we've talked about. Yeah. And, looking at the list, even after I step back from it, there's still like 5 or 6 albums that are not even on there, which is, it's crazy. Like this should be enough.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're going to be working on this list. It's probably going to be taking us a little bit to really kind of round out but we want to do top 25.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Top 25.
Top 25.
And some notable mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you want to do 20 and then 5 notables?
Ooh, now you're making it hard.
Okay.
25.
25 and then 5 mention. Okay.
Yeah.
So 30. That's easier. Okay. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these, just to kind of throw some of these albums out that, made some noise, Tyler, the Creator, Igor, Dreamville, 2 Chainz, Rick Ross, Post Malone's, Schoolboy. One album that I thought when I was looking at this list is Offset. We didn't talk about it and it really wasn't that good, but I mean, it's hitting on the radio.
Well, because all of them released solo albums.
Yeah.
And it just so happened his was the best out of all the solo albums, I think.
Whoa, wait. But you're saying it was Offset was better than the Quavo album?
But it's like comparing like recycled trash to recycled trash, right?
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think the Offset album is the best one out of there. Yeah. Like I said, obviously we have Logic, we have Drake, Big Crit, who I think, even though he's been on the production sheet, we haven't really talked about the album. Czarface, Quelly Chris, Anderson .Paak, Currency. I mean, that's just one of the albums that Currency did this year. I didn't have the space to put there's like 9 Currency albums that came out this year.
Yeah.
Meg Thee Stallion, Lizzo, who I'm just going to tell you, Lizzo's in my top 10 for this year.
Oh, that's fair.
I'm just going to tell you. I mean, I just think you cannot deny her that spot.
No, she deserves it.
So, she's going to be in there. Freddie Gibbs, Bandana is going to be in my top 10. I'll just go ahead and give you one of those too. But again, Meg Thee Stallion, Danny Brown, Common, Missy Elliott, Kanye, we just talked about, Blueface, and I think he's supposed to drop another one. Snoop Dogg, Little Brother, Jeezy, Kevin Gates, Young M.A., Lil' Kim, Wale, Smoke DZA probably dropped like 5 or 6 mixtapes too.
Yeah. As usual. Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah.
But I mean,
there's a lot of the underground artists that I've listened to that aren't even on this list that I'm thinking that would make my top 10 or top 15.
Yeah.
So,
and the albums that we were talking about right here, those aren't even listed on this list that I made.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so much music, and this is just hip hop. I mean, I listen to R&B soul. I got some electronica. I mean, like this is just the scope from a hip hop perspective. And it's crazy to kind of, I mean, you got some serious work to do.
Yeah.
So, Zach, what do you think? You're going to get in on this? You're going to give us 30?
I want that. I want it to happen.
And like I said, I mean, this isn't everything. You might have to scroll back.
Yes, I'll do that for you.
Are you? Yeah. Or you just want to give me 10?
Yeah, you can.
I'll give you 10.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got at least 5 on it.
Yeah, because we don't really give you the opportunity.
I've listened to 9 albums this year.
Really?
I'm just.
Oh man.
You know, I feel like we Matt Damon you on this a lot. You know, you're there, but you don't really get to talk all that much.
No, I will be the first to say that y'all are the talent here.
Yeah.
Well, you have been known to, even from afar, make some notable comments. So,
absolutely.
you know,
Your opinion matters.
absolutely.
No, I feel like my opinion should y'all feel like it. So thank you for that. But yeah, I'm loving this. I'll give y'all 10.
All right.
I can easily do that. You have it in a nice list form.
And I'll add to it.
So
this spreadsheet will be.
This is a lot easier for me than y'all guys.
I'll even star some recommendations for you.
That is a lot of
It is, man. It really is. Yeah. And like I said, if you do like this is just hip hop. If I did like
I need y'all.
If I did like all the albums, because there was a lot of them I was like because like so for me, like Black Pumas, who, you know, they were like a big group in Austin this year. Like that's one of my top albums like of the year for me. Them, Duran Jones and the Indications. There's a lot of music I've consumed outside of hip hop. And that's when I was making this list, I was just spitballing, like looking at like my most played. And while a lot of this is on there as far as like a track or two, like there's so much other stuff that I've consumed, Same. Which is hard to really kind of think about. But like when you write it out, you're like, holy shit, like this is a lot of music. Like I spend a lot of my time listening to music. Yeah. So
we do it so you don't have to.
Absolutely. So I'm really looking forward for our top 30 or 25 and 5 honorable mentionals, as Jay said.
It might not be 5. I might.
You already set the standard. The people are going to wait on your 30 now.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's fair.
So, and like 30. I said, there's still like a few albums that are coming out. Like I said, Blueface is going to drop. You know, will we get that Kevin Durant Hard Rush EP before, you know, the end of the year drop, man?
I don't think it's coming, man. I think it's on.
Really want that KD
injured reserve
EP, man. God, I want that album.
That's what they should call it, injured reserve.
You know, so you got that. Cameron is supposed to drop Purple Haze 2, which I'm excited about that album just because I'm such a fan of the first one, because that was dropped when I was in high school. And that, if you don't remember, that was the album that inspired people to wear pink. Yeah. So
besides the pink polo.
Well, yeah, that was already taken. But I'm talking about like the pink tall tees, the pink cars, the pink mink coat. Yeah, pink Timberlands came out. I mean, men were pushing pink. So I'm interested to see. The other album that I didn't mention that came out this year that I feel like doesn't get enough notoriety is the Jim Jones El Chapo album. That is a hard album. Like, you know, considering that he's, you know, kind of out there in space, like Dipset is like together, but they're not, you know, for him to just rock an album like that. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh, well, shit, man.
Yeah, you got some work to do, man.
Got some work to do. And yo, if you got some stuff that you think should make the top 30, link it below.
Oh yeah. Drop it in the comment section, which we always forget this too. Yeah. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Mm-hmm. You know, let us know you're out there listening. You know, we do it for ourselves, but we hope it's starting to get more or less on you guys that, you know, we have to be speaking the same language to a few of you out there. So
let us know any notable albums that came out this year that we might have missed.
Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't have to necessarily be hip hop based. I mean, music is music to me, but you know, like I said, on this podcast, we really try to focus on just the hip hop and, you know, large albums that you really can't ignore. But you know, this is a lot of music that came out, man. So I'm looking forward to hear you guys. You know, this is gonna be the Grammys of the podcast. You know, first annual.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you all tuning in, rocking with us once again. And I think this is going to be it for us.
Yeah, man.
Signing off.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. This is Trey, Zach, and Jay, man. Bring the Smoke Podcast, man. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.